What's up, folks? It's me. Here I am for tea time. Cheers. So, I will ask anything you would like me to answer. I'm not sure if that was English. Cheers, guys. So, this is a Q&A, as always. Tea time with Tim. Ask me anything. And here we are on Periscope. Tim Ferriss, 2R's, 2S's, as you know. And you guys can ask me anything. The more specific, the better. What's in the tea? This is masala chai plus, so it's an herb blend and spice blend from India. I think it might actually be from Tibet in this case, plus pu'er tea, small amount of pu'er. Glad you guys enjoyed the Laird Hamilton episode of the podcast. How do I decide who's on my podcast? Basically, people who make me say, what the fuck? How do they do that? And then I go track down those people to ask them. Do I code? I don't know how to code. Best way to meta learn coding? I don't know, but it is very comparable to language learning in my experience. And actually, Chad Fowler at one point taught me some basics of Ruby, comparing it to Hindi and a few languages that he speaks. Keto or slow carb depends on your objective and your discipline. Slow carb is a lot easier, and I think you get about 95% of the benefits. But keto is, I think, very fast for fat loss, if that's what you're going for, or if you have some type of issue like epilepsy, very useful. Repair bad eyesight or astigmatism. I'm afraid I'm not qualified to answer that. Low carb snacks. You shouldn't be hungry. You should be eating enough to keep you sated for the entire day. Eat more fat. If you're on slow carb and you feel like you need snacks, you're probably not eating enough fat. So eat more fat. Best advice I've ever been given. You are the average of the 5 people you associate with most. Kind of funny, someone says. Zervo, well, hopefully that's on purpose, but even if it's accidental, I'll take it. Top 3 apps I use on my phone: Uber, Evernote, and sure, maybe Twitter, perhaps. Those would be tops. Fate or self-determinism? I think a combination. I don't think it's either or as a false dichotomy. I think you can have fate. Some things can be fated, and at the same time, you can have an element of self-determinism. But maybe that's just a cop-out. You do Yabusame. So did I. Yeah, I missed the end of that comment. But Yabusame is Japanese horseback archery. If you search my name in that, you can find a video of me trying that. Best book I've read lately. Well, I've been reading Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, which I'm enjoying quite a bit, which is nonfiction. And then fiction, I haven't started it yet, but I've been looking forward to reading this. So this is The Turn of the Screw and Daisy Miller. These are short novels by Henry James. Haven't read it yet, but I've heard very good things. I'm not training in BJJ and SF. That's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. New random show. Maybe I'll try to get Kevin to come visit me, and then we can do that. I haven't read Effortless Mastery. That sounds great, but title-wise, but I have read Mastery. The book Mastery is fantastic. I really enjoy that. Wim Hof would be excellent to have on. Virtual and in-person assistance. I have both. I don't use a recumbent bike. I prefer the normal stationary bikes. Let's see. Kenny Werner, I'm not familiar with him. Best business decision I've ever made? Well, it depends on why we're in business. So people have different reasons for starting a business or running a business. It could be related to passion and an outlet for creativity. It could be related to finances. If we're talking about pure finances, I would say advising Uber, which was very much accidental on some levels, was probably the best inadvertent decision that I've ever made. Something sex. Yeah, well, I guess you're putting up comments the way that we all think. So congratulations. Let's see. Solution for hair loss, anything to help reverse it. I haven't really found anything reliable, and I haven't wanted to have the sort of Barbie Ken doll stitching, so I've avoided it. Generally, the dudes don't care, and if I'm interested in what the ladies think, the ladies I like don't care either. So I haven't thought much about it, honestly. 5-5 rule yesterday for biceps. Cool, awesome. Telomeres, great. I think there are some data to support that telomerase inhibitors, for instance, could have some potential for life extension. Favorite interview? Don't know. I've enjoyed many of them for different reasons. My interviews are almost always satisfying a curiosity I have about a subject or a person. So in each case, I'm not looking for one set of answers or insights from all of these people. I'm looking for different types of tips or routines and so on. What advice can I give a 21-year-old? Focus on learning before earning. You could focus on earning and make, say, jump from 50 to 75K a year when you graduate from college, and then slowly over the next decade make it up to 100 and something K. Or you could focus on learning from the best people out there, working directly for a CEO or a master deal maker, and then make $10 million or $100 million. So focus on acquiring skills first and not just increasing your bank account by a marginal amount year over year. One supplement I can't live without daily, I would say coconut oil. I don't pop too many pills these days. Heard of the tiny house movement? Yes, I have. I have a whole collection of tiny house books right over there, which I could show you. Let's see. Who has had the biggest influence on my life and business? There are many. Matt Mullenweg, who's been on the podcast, has had a huge influence. Kevin Rose has had huge influence. Ed Shao, who was a professor of mine at Princeton in high-tech entrepreneurship, had a huge influence. There are many. It's not just one person. Let's see. Eco Cabins. I'll check out Eco Cabins. Yelp CEO Jeremy Stolpman. He's a smart guy. I've met him before. Round 2 with Peter Attia already happened. So go look for the podcast number 2 with Peter Attia. We've had 2 podcasts together, and his AMA is amazing, which is the second one. Let's see. I want to learn to be the best marketer. What should I do? Basically, read 1,000 True Fans by Kevin Kelly. It's available on kk.org for free. And read the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, the first edition, the old one. Was I ever tempted to join the Army? No, I was tempted to join the CIA potentially at one point, but it just wasn't the right track for me. I think I can do more outside the system than I can within it. Thoughts on higher learning technology industry? We would need to get a little more specific on that. Robert Greene would be fun to have on the podcast for sure. But in terms of higher education technology, I think we could be talking about accredited, like the University of Phoenix distance learning, or we could be talking about things like Creative Live or Lynda, for instance, or even Khan Academy, which is, I suppose, somewhere in the middle. I think they're all contributing to providing assets that allow anyone to really become world-class at certain skills, many skills, most skills at this point, without having to attend college, whether you have no opportunity to do so or lack the funds to do so. You can find a lot of Stanford's curriculum online. You can also find a lot of MIT's curriculum online. My brother took an introductory computer science class. I think it was from MIT, it may have been Harvard, which got him really far, just from our TV room, basically. What does it take to get a question answered here? Luck. Well, you just got your question answered. There are a lot of questions popping up. What's the coolest thing in my fridge? I don't know. Right now, maybe lipospheric vitamin C, but it doesn't need to be refrigerated. I put a lot of things in the fridge that don't need to be refrigerated. I don't know why I do that. Let's see. What skills, in your opinion, should be learned in the early 20s? Well, if not earlier, I would say good writing composition. Writing is thought, and therefore frozen on paper or on a screen. And therefore, you can become a much more incisive, clear thinker by practicing writing and having other people review your writing. On Writing Well is a book that I recommend. Simple and Direct is another book that I recommend. But if you do not have a writing teacher, try to find a lawyer, perhaps a friend who has some lawyerly training, to go through your writing. They will find ambiguous words or unnecessary words, which is a good start. Have I ever been scuba diving? Yes, I love scuba diving. I've probably done it, 50 or 60 times. Draft is great, that app. I know that the founder was hired away to work with another startup, so I don't know how much time is being spent on Draft, but Draft is an excellent app for looking at track changes. Google Docs can also be used that way. I just figured it out today, actually, because I've used Word for track changes, but Word is so bloated. Google Docs, if you go to, instead of just edit, you go to suggestions, then other people can view your edits in the same way that you look at track changes, red line in Word. PADI, yes, I am PADI certified scuba diver. And I've done the Black Hole in Belize. I've done some really cool spots. I've been very fortunate. Let's see. Thoughts on Airbnb. I'm not sure what types of thoughts. I've used Airbnb. I love it. I'm too much of a finicky monkish character to have people screw with my shit in my house or leave those open. I think people are generally trustworthy on Airbnb, but I wouldn't be comfortable having my primary residence rented out. If I had another rental property, perhaps, but I like using Airbnb. I think it's brilliant. Tesla home battery thoughts. I think it's fucking fascinating. So I wouldn't be surprised if I and my family perhaps get a few of those. Let's see. If I've been to Somalia, I have not. Success habits to obtain. Read the book Daily Habits or Daily Rituals by Mason Curry. And I produced the audiobook for that, but I think the print is also very, very good. Stanford, Harvard, or Wharton for an MBA. Maybe none of them for an MBA. It depends on what you're trying to get out of it. If you're at a McKinsey or an accounting firm and you need to get up to your next pay grade by getting an MBA, then perhaps it's a good decision. If you don't know what to do, I don't think an MBA is the best way to take a 2-year vacation where you drink a lot of beer. But if I had to choose an MBA from Harvard, Wharton, or Stanford, I would choose Stanford because of the location, because I'm interested in startups and venture capital, and it is sunnier. But if I had to choose second place, I would choose Harvard among those three, and then Wharton. But ask yourself why you're going to get an MBA and if it's really the best solution for that. Because you could get paid, albeit not much, to be a gopher or an assistant for, say, a very high-ranking executive in film or in whatever your industry of interest is. And it might be better to be an indentured slave for 2 years than to go to an MBA program. 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel is a great book. I've read it. Peter Thiel has been on my podcast also. You guys can check out that. It's just the Tim Ferriss Show on iTunes or anywhere else. You can go to 4hourworkweek.com, all spelled out, and click on podcast also. What questions have you asked yourself daily? I often ask myself what I'm most stressed out about. So I was actually journaling today about this and trying to identify processes or systems that I can put in place, not one-off decisions to reduce consistent sources of stress. So this is my morning journal. I've talked about this before. You could search Tim Ferriss morning journal, and I wrote a blog post about this, but I wrote for an entire page on the pros and cons of putting certain types of systems in place or experiments. So the experiment that I'm considering right now, which is boxed out here, is do a 2-week test where I say no to all cold email introductions and pitches. All right. And so what are my concerns? Why am I hesitant for saying no to all of these things? And the pros are the good things that would happen if I did this experiment, potentially likely outcomes. And then the cons, i.e. why not do this, are the fears that may be founded or unfounded that I'm writing down to try to analyze. So I find that very helpful. Periscope versus Meerkat. I think Periscope has a much larger inbuilt audience. And I also know now the CEO of Periscope and just really enjoy Periscope. So for me, that's the choice for the moment. The one thing by Gary Keller, I did skim it. I think it's pretty good. There's some useful points in there, a couple of very good stories. I do find the 80-20 principle by Richard, I'm going to say Koch, but it might be Koch, I think it's Koch, is better in my opinion, denser. I shouldn't say better, it's different, but it's denser. But the one thing is very closely related to, of course, the 80-20 principle and power laws. Let's see. Pareto. Yes, look it up. Pareto's law, 80-20, same thing. Have I tried XTC? I have not. Do I know the CEOs of all the apps I use? No, not all of them, but I try. I mean, when I'm using an app, I have very strong opinions of product features, and so typically I will reach out to CEOs because I want to facilitate having them build a product that I want to use. So if I'm using a product and it's rough around the edges, I like to provide feedback, and I'm not rough about it. I'm not brusque, but because I live in Silicon Valley and I have a good network at this point, I try to reach out and develop relationships with the executive teams at a lot of these places. Have I read the Quran? No, but I intend to, actually, and that for a lot of reasons, because it's such a part of the cultural conversation right now. I just feel like it would be interesting to read, to educate myself. And Sam Harris, PhD, would agree with this. And if you haven't heard the latest Sam Harris podcast on my podcast, the Tim Ferriss Show, you have to listen to it. It's fucking great. He did a fantastic job. Sam is one of the clearest thinkers and best spoken people I've ever met. So neuroscience PhD. Check that out. Favorite comedian? There are many comedians I like. Dimitri Martin is way up there. Stephen Wright, way up there. Mitch Hedberg, way up there. So I do like that dry type of comedy. Brian Callen, I think, is hilarious. Let's see. Jim Jeffries, very profane, hilarious Australian, I think is also great. There are many. I mean, Richard Pryor, Ed Murphy back in the day, Eddie Murphy. So there you go. Do I think an intense work ethic hurts your ability to have successful relationships, intimate relationships? It can. It doesn't have to, but it can for sure. A dog is forever in the push-up position. Sounds like a fortune cookie I'd love to get. Well said. Who are the 5 people I spend the most time with? I've answered this one before. I would say people who come to mind right away are people like Matt Mullenweg, Kevin Rose. Been spending more and more time with Garrett Camp, but we both travel a lot and miss each other sometimes. Let's see, who else? Kelly Starrett would be another one. Yeah, there you go. That's a random sampling. Worst habit that I have is hitting snooze over and over and over again. This morning I hit snooze. I wrote it in my journal. Hit snooze 4 to 5 times, so I got up at around 10:15 instead of 8:33. What the fuck? So that's my habit that I need to address. Let's see. Do I like dance music? Yes, depends on the type, but I like Glitch Mob. I'm not sure you'd consider that dance music. I'm sure some of you would. What do I think of Coach.me? Of course, I love Coach.me. It used to be Lyft, L-I-F-T, and I'm an investor in the company. So I think they're doing good work, and I know the guys who run it, and I like them. I think they're trying to do good things. Let's see. Any fine artist that I like? I'd have to think about it. There are many. I do love sculpture and fine art, but I'm blanking on any immediate names. I like Android Jones. I like Alex Gray, although I'd say I probably prefer Android Jones. And if you consider them in the fine art category, check them out. If you guys haven't seen Android Jones, do a search. Nassim Taleb, would love to interview Nassim. He's a friend. We've met quite a few times. War of Art is a good book. I enjoyed The War of Art. I don't come across as materialistic, am I? I don't think so. I mean, I don't have a major acquisitive streak. I have nice things, but I don't go crazy. I mean, I'm driving my mom's hand-me-down minivan right now. It is horrible. I mean, it is the smelliest, most ragged-ass ragged-ass car you've just about ever seen. And I'm cool with that. I'm just using it to get from point A to point B, so I don't care. But I'm sure there are ways in which I'm materialistic, but they're not coming to mind right now. I'm sure they exist. I buy too many shoes. I don't know what the fuck it is with me and shoes. Like I have no fashion sense, and I don't buy much besides t-shirts, and I have a couple of Mizzen and Main dress shirts, 1 or 2 pairs of jeans, and like sweatpants, and buy all sorts of shoes. I don't know what it is. I'm like Imelda Marcos, but I don't spend that much money on them. Let's see. How long will the beard get? I don't know. How long should it get? I've been growing it out for like 3 or 4 weeks, and I was thinking of getting like a proper full-on beard just for the hell of it, but it's very itchy. It's very itchy. If you guys have any thoughts on how to prevent itchiness on the beard, I'm all ears, so please let me know. Thank you, Jessica. Beards are sexy. Maybe I'll keep growing it out in that case. I usually hear that kind of feedback from guys. Many, if I got hit on half as much by women as I do by guys, I'd be pretty stoked. Let's see. Braid the beard. I need some more. Keep growing, itching stops. Cool. I'll give it a go. Esther Perel, I'd love to have her on the podcast. I think I already actually reached out to her. My team reached out to her, so we'll see where it goes. Jason Statham of Silicon Valley. Yeah, I'll take it. If I can make that work, I'll do it. What style of furniture do I have at home? Well, this is my sort of country hangout. So I've got the wood stove, pretty rustic, this kind of stuff. So this is what the pad looks like. And you can see it's very, very kind of beach rustic. And then this is all screened in patio for chilling, hanging with the peeps, drinking wine. So for now, that kind of stuff. At my main at my main residence, my primary residence. In SF, it's more of a Japanese kind of Esalen-y Northern California vibe. If you look at an architecture book called Green and Green, green with an E at the end, Green and Green, it gives you a pretty good idea, I think, of my aesthetic. Am I participating in Cast Party today? It may be NPR podcast only. I don't even know what that is. What is that? What's happening? I have no idea. I'm not in the news cycle. I am uninformed. So let me know. I'd love to know what that's all about. Thing I've bought lately for $100 or less that's had a big impact. I bought some Cressi, Cressi, Big Eyes masks. These are snorkeling masks that I'm using for the pool workouts that Laird Hamilton does. And they're fantastic. Those are the goggles that he uses, or the masks that he uses. Live podcast viewing at the movies. Cast Party. Wow, that's exciting. Ever watch any mindless TV? Yeah, for sure. Mindless TV. If there's South Park or Family Guy or whatever on, I'll watch it if I'm just killing time or just zoning out, which is totally fine. Experiment.org. I haven't seen experiment.org. Maybe I'll check it out. Which book of mine is my favorite? Which would you recommend people read first? That's super tough. I'd say that I think people should read 4-Hour Workweek first. But the 4-Hour Body holds a very special place for me because people will come up to me and show me photos and say, this is what I used to look like. This is what I look like now. And I've met people who've lost, 200 pounds. It's amazing. They're completely different people. So that visual aspect, I think, is something that's hard to replicate with case studies from the 4-Hour Workweek. 4-Hour Chef is also near and dear to my heart because accelerated learning is such a core focus of mine. But it's a very difficult question. I think they hold different places for me. Tim Ferriss live, yeah, I'm thinking about doing some live podcasts and maybe even doing a road trip around the country and just doing live podcasts in different cities. So if that's of interest to you guys, let me know. I thought that could be really fun. How can we one day accomplish colonizing Mars? That's more of an Elon Musk or Peter Diamandis question, I think. Marriage versus cohabiting. What are my thoughts? I don't like marriage as a construct, a legal construct with the state. That does not appeal to me. How do I deal with FOMO? I'm working on it. I have a great podcast coming up with Tara Brock that touches on some of this. San Luis Obispo, happiest city in the world. Yeah, I could hang out with Chuck Liddell when I go there. Pet his Chihuahua. When am I going on Rogan again? Not sure. If Joe invites me back, I'll gladly do it. Do I still work with Ryan Holiday? Not currently, but I usually only work with him when I am doing launches. Although we're still friends, we communicate a lot. New York City or SF? I love both, but SF is where I choose to live. I spend a lot of time in New York City. Let's see. Casey Neistat. So Casey Neistat's name has come up a lot as a potential podcast guest. Tell me why. I'm not that familiar with Casey, but I've heard good things about him. What would I tell a 28-year-old that's about to start college for the first time ever? Use it to, 28. This is interesting. I'm not sure if you're doing it for strictly professional purposes or not. If it's a liberal arts college, the objective should be to become a deep-thinking, broadly exposed, clear communicator, I think. And you want to become a well-rounded human being with broad interests. In general, that's my advice to undergraduates. Don't use it to automatically prepare for a single career track. But if you're 28 and that's the objective, then my advice might need to be different. When will I reproduce? Don't know. TBD. Do I still hunt with Steve Rinella? No, Steve Rinella is amazing. But I haven't been on any additional hunts with him since the Alaska caribou hunt. Ronda Rousey would be amazing to interview. She's awesome, but I think my team's reached out to her, but I'm not sure we've heard back yet. Everybody wants to interview her, so she's in demand. Best stretch for the lower back, gravity boots. You need to work on your psoas and sort of unlock your hips. Let's see. Do I prefer podcast or TV? I prefer podcast. You can just go so much deeper in a 2-hour podcast. All right, guys, I'm going to get going in a minute. Need to move on with my day, go for a swim. I have some dead mice in my pool. If you're a mouse, how do you jump into a pool? It seems like that's major Darwin award. So I will I'll have to go fish those out and kind of jai-lie them with a swimming fin over my fence. You still can't swim, Mara in motion. Well, you need to look up total immersion swimming. And it's in the 4 Hour Body. But if you just search Tim Ferriss total immersion swimming, then my blog post should pop up. And that alone should get you to where you need to go. All right, guys. Still shooting? Shooting? Yes, I'm still shooting. Guitar, fear death. I don't fear death. I fear the slow descent into death. All right, guys. So I'm going to get running. But thank you for chiming in and for joining me on this tea time. And we shall talk again. And if you're interested in the live podcast idea, me traveling around the country, let me know. Let me know how I should do it. Let me know what you think. So let me know on Twitter at tferriss, TFERRISS. All right, guys. So have a great day and get some exercise. Get outside if you can. You'll feel better for it. So until then, peace, guys.